How's it going, guys? I've got some breaking, broken but arrowed news for you today. Unlike the devs who have missed a week out in their news and thought that nobody would notice, we'll get onto that. And that is that the reviews for Broken Arrow have fallen to mostly negative for the recent reviews. So it's split into two parts: the overall reviews, which excludes lots of things. So it's not really an overall review. It excludes the review bomb, and it also excludes now all reviews that aren't in English, which means basically the entire Chinese population isn't in this score anymore. And Yeah, it also has the recent reviews. So in the last 30 days, we're now at 38%. So the way it works is that if you have over 69% positive reviews, you get a nice blue color and it says very positive or mostly positive or overwhelmingly positive. If you have between 69 and 40%, you get mixed. So overall, it's currently mixed. And below 40%, it goes to mostly negative, and even further down, it's overwhelmingly negative. But generally, I think most people just look at the colors, right? So over 69% is blue, which is good. From 69 to 40 is yellow, which is warning, and below 40 is red, which means definitely don't buy this. So if you've got your Steam language set to English, because now it's segregated by language, you will now see this red and this yellow. And if you're in another region, you might see something different. If you're in China, the overall review is because look, you'll see it now. It just says English reviews instead of overall reviews, right? If you're in China, the Mandarin reviews, I suppose, would be negative. It would be red, and the recent would be red. So there's a lot of reasons for this. Basically, they overpromised and underdelivered, and it's been many months since release, right? So we're coming up on 3 months, June to September. In a few days, it'll be 3 months there, and they haven't really fixed any of the problems in the game. Problems from the first beta are still in the game. Sometimes you buy planes, they don't show up. Sometimes your game starts and you just end up with nobody. So this is the review bomb we were talking about. So none of that is included now, and more recently, Steam changed it so that it's segregated by language as well. So yeah, if there's English reviews in here, positive or negative, they're not included in the score. Obviously, it's overall a negative thing, and you can see it by language. So overall, it's mixed in English, mixed in Russian, mostly negative in simplified Chinese, mixed in German. Wow, it's close to being mostly negative in Korea. Actually, that's the lowest one, excluding this, of course. And for some reason, Spanish people just really, really like Broken Arrow. Who knows? Maybe I need to do a bit more reading on that. And it's just all the usual problems: cheaters, the game doesn't play properly, and also yeah, so lots of cheating, and like you'll just start games and the fifth guy just won't be there. Like this is a good example. And not in that he disconnected, but that the whole UI just says you were only supposed to have four players and the enemy was supposed to have five. So it's very strange. At this point, I'd like to point something else out as well, which happened, which is that they made a commitment to release news every week, right? uh, to keep the people happy, right, and let them know that they're still working on the game. So last week they said, I don't want my face to be in the way. This week's news has been slightly delayed. We're waiting for translations, which is an interesting. I don't understand how their workflow works. There's a lot of automated translation software. It takes you 20 seconds, right, using AI. Publishing company can probably afford to pay a good one. Presumably they use humans, and the guy was AFK or something, or they're just lying, right? But we have no proof, so we have to assume they're telling the truth. And yeah, so we'll release it next week. So last week there was no news, right? And then they released last week's news this week. And this working week has just ended. I get the impression these guys don't work weekends because nothing ever seems to get done. So I'd be surprised if they were working more than 5 days a week. Working days just ended for Europe, right? And there's the only news we got this week was actually last week's news. But the only thing they've said is last week. This week's news has been slightly delayed, and this wasn't the first comment they made in the the general chat they went on about. It's just a small delay. It's just a small delay. We'll get it to you on Monday. But what they've actually done is skipped out a week. And that's an interesting, really interesting case study for me in the use of language and how language can be used to spin things in various ways. Just keep your noggin jogging, keep your head straight, and you'll see through most of it. Obviously, misdirection among video games is probably the least of your worries in the current climate. Why has this got some weird green thing behind it? Anyway, that's all there is this week. Obviously, I wish they would have provided the news for this week, but instead they gave us last week's news and told us it was this week's news. So that's all I've got to talk about. The game has gone to mostly negative. When's the next patch coming out? They haven't told us. And I'll see you in the next one.